Hey, Astro Kids, and welcome back. This is your March 2021 horoscope for all Earth signs. So, if you are a Taurus moon or Taurus ascendant, a Virgo moon or Virgo ascendant, or a Capricorn moon or Capricorn ascendant, then this is your video. So, let's go ahead and jump right into this. So during this month of March, the moon is going to be traveling from Virgo and loop back around to the sign of Scorpio. So as you know, the moon is always moving 2 to 3 days time. So we are not going to talk about all of the positions of the moon as we go through this, but we will just briefly touch on the major transits of the moon during this month of March. And starting off here, the moon will be here in the sign of Virgo. So this is starting off here more analytical, more technical, more set on our skills and really trying to look at all sides of a situation to come up with the correct way of really putting things together. And this is especially true as we are here ending out this Mercury retrograde. So, as many of you know, as I am recording this, that we are coming here out of this Mercury retrograde. Can already feel it. Super excited as this is a retrograde clearing out my third house where my thoughts and my communication have been a bit jumbled here. Now we're coming into this space where those of you who have been having those issues around communication, around contracts, around sudden occurrences in your life, those things are starting to come to a close now, and everything is starting to become more clearer as Mercury is now starting to function much better as it is coming direct. Now, on the 5th of March, the moon is going to come into an association with K2. So this is K2 that's been here in the sign of Scorpio in the nakshatra of Jyeshta. And so now the moon is coming in here. And of course, again, the moon is always going to come here for the remainder of this transit of K2 here because the moon is always moving those 2 to 3 days. And so this is a common occurrence, but as this comes into play, this really becomes a great time to tap into your creativity, to tap into those skills and to utilize your more creative, intuitive side. That nakshatra of Jyeshta is a Pisces Navamsa. And so that is an area of Scorpio that's very deep, very much about tuning into the deeper mind and pulling out these ingenious ideas and creativity from the deepest part of the mind. And as the moon comes into this association, the moon being the moon, this being the mind, this really is a time of tapping into the deeper parts of your mind and using these creative skills from the depths, right? This becomes a very deep conjunction. And K2 here in Scorpio really revealing a lot of deeper things to the surface during this transit. So moving forward on the 9th of March, we will see the moon join up with Jupiter and Saturn. So this is that stellium of Capricorn that we've experienced for such a long time now. And I did add Pluto into the mix as well. A lot of you have requested to see how these three extra planets actually play into Vedic astrology. And so I added that in as well, where we're going to see the moon, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto come together here in Capricorn. And this has been really a time of reshaping our reality, as Jupiter and Saturn are those two planets that deal with the structure and the principles of this physical construct, this reality that we live in. So, all the rules, the government, the structure, all of this being rearranged coming off of that great conjunction that we saw back in December. And Pluto in here as well, really breaking things down, transforming things. Pluto is that planet that is about breaking things down to their simplest form and restructuring it. And so we've seen this a lot where our foundation has been broken down. And now we're trying to figure out how to put everything back together. This has really been a time of transforming society as a whole. And as the moon comes here, just bringing this into your awareness here as far as the changes that need to be made within your life, within the world as a whole, depending on where this is in your chart. And so we'll talk more about that as we get into each of the signs when we jump into the horoscopes. But on the 13th, we will see a new moon in Aquarius. And so this is a new moon that is happening in the Shadabasha Nakshatra. Remember, that is symbolized by the thousand petaled lotus. And so this becomes about your karmic duty, about rising above the lower impulses and staying true to your spiritual path and calling. And so as we come into this new moon, this really becomes a great time if you have been slacking, if you have been falling behind on your dharma, on your responsibilities in life, to really stay focused, to start to build a solid routine that really works for you. If you've been suffering with any sort of lower impulses, really starting to build a solid foundation that can help you transcend that. So, a lot that is coming in here in terms of being able to really set that solid foundation for yourself, where you are following your spiritual path. You're following your spiritual calling at this time, really moving ahead towards that duty and purpose in life. So moving ahead here on the 14th, the sun is going to shift into the sign of Pisces. And as you know, Mars is here with Rahu in the sign of Taurus. We are going to see Mars start to come closer to Rahu here around the 13th and the 14th, where these energies here of Mars and Taurus are becoming more heightened, Rahu being in there. You really want to be careful of any sort of impulses, especially as Taurus is dealing with material pleasure. So you want to be cautious of any sort of impulses and strong desires that are coming in with this conjunction of Mars and Rahu. Of course, the shadow side of Rahu is that this can lead us towards taking shortcuts to getting around things, this obsession, this hunger that is unhealthy. And Mars, of course, being a very impulsive planet that is a bit agitated here as it wants to go a little bit faster, and Taurus is slowing that energy down. And so you want to be cautious of any sort of pleasure and indulgence that you're getting caught up in during this time, making sure that everything that you are going after and really moving towards is healthy for you and is in line with your calling, with your purpose, using that positive side of Rahu, which becomes more about going after the things that you want to achieve and fulfill in life versus this shadowy aspect of yourself where your desires, your impulses start to come in. But as we jump into the sun in Pisces, this is really going to shift our central focus. The sun is coming into the sign of Pisces, but this is becoming more imaginative, more spiritual. This is starting to gear us towards the spring that is incoming, starting to shift our focus and awareness. And so this is coming out of that Aquarius mode where this is all about logic and calculating and coming up with innovation and creative ways to move ahead in society. This is really coming back into a spiritual place. And so, depending on where this is in your chart, this can really make you want to meditate and to come more into that place of exploring your internal world, your imagination, your spirituality. And so, this becomes a great time for any sort of spiritual practices in your life. Now, moving forward on the 19th, the moon is going to come closer to this Mars Rahu combination. And so, again, this is where those desires and impulses can become inflamed. Remember that the moon is a very sensitive planet. And so, with that, in this conjunction with Mars and Rahu, which is very impulsive, that has very strong desires, this can really get you into trouble if you are focused on these lower impulses. And so, you really want to focus this energy towards the things that you want to build and create in your life. Moving forward here on the 28th of March, we will have a full moon in Virgo. This is happening in the Hasta Nakshatra, where this is becoming all about service, about duty, purpose, creativity, or technical skills. And so this is a great full moon here in terms of working on the things that you want. And so, yes, this is a full moon where this is a completion, this is a culmination, but this is really a time where you can realize your creative skills, your technical skills that you can use to build and create the things that you want. So this becomes a very beneficial full moon as we are shifting ahead here. On the last day of March, Mercury will shift into the sign of Pisces. And so this is another point here where Mercury is unhappy. Mercury will come into its debilitation in the sign of Pisces, where this is a lot like talking underwater, right? Pisces is otherworldly, where this is more about your imagination, your spirituality, and Mercury is trying to find some logic, some understanding. And so this becomes very confusing and very difficult for those of you who are trying to rely more on your logic, those of you who are overanalyzing. This Mercury in Pisces can bring up some challenges here around trying to understand things. And so this becomes a great time with Mercury in Pisces to use more of your right brain, to use that imagination, that intuition, and to go with the flow of things. Pisces is giving you this divine insight through this transit here of Mercury and Pisces. So let's go ahead and jump into the horoscopes. So if you are a Taurus moon or Taurus ascendant, this is for you. So for those of you with a Taurus moon or Taurus ascendant, this is your March 2021 horoscope. And starting off here, the moon is going to be in your fifth house. And so this really becomes a great time of using your creativity, using your intellect to build, to work on projects. This becomes a great time to express yourself with the moon here in your fifth house. Remember that the moon is representing your mind. And so as it comes here into the fifth house, this is a great deal of creativity that comes in here. Now, next, on the 5th of March, we have the moon coming closer to K2. And so this will happen in your seventh house of Scorpio. And so here this becomes a great time to go deeper into your relationships, where you can find some deeper understanding, some deeper connection. Remember that this moon is going to be in Jeshta, which is that Pisces Navamsa of Scorpio, where this becomes about exploring the deeper parts of the mind. And especially there with K2 being that spiritual planet of really taking us out of the physical, out of the material world. So this becomes a great time to go deeper emotionally, spiritually, in your relationships and connections. Now, moving forward here on the 9th, the moon is going to come closer to Jupiter and Saturn. And of course, there we also have Pluto, which is happening over in your ninth house. And so this becomes a great time of learning. This becomes a great time of exploring different possibilities. This ninth house being your house of higher education, where you're going through this process of gaining more wisdom, gaining more insight. A lot that is coming in intuitively with this conjunction that is here of Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn, where a lot is changing here in terms of what you're able to learn and tap into. And of course, with the moon coming in, this is heightening the intuition. It's a great time to use your intuition, to use your internal knowing, to use your higher knowing to understand things at a deeper level. Moving forward on the 13th of March, We have that new moon happening in Shadabasha, this nakshatra within Aquarius, where there is a lot of karmic duty and responsibility surrounded with this energy, and especially as this will be happening in your 10th house, where this is about your authority, your purpose, your duty in life. And so, this is really a great time to focus on the things that you want to get done, to focus on moving up in your career life, moving up with your responsibilities, staying focused and dedicated to the things that you want to build and create. Moving forward, Mars is also going to come closer to Rahu, which is happening there in your first house. So this is you, where there are strong impulses, strong desires, strong hopes and dreams that are happening for you, Taurus, where this is really a great time to, again, tap into your creativity, tap into your intuition, go with the changes that are happening. A lot here where you are growing and expanding in who you are. And so your identity is strongly in focus here as you're changing and growing through this Rahu energy, and with Mars here as well, giving you that extra boost of energy to push forward, to move forward with your individuality, with your confidence, with your self assertiveness. A lot of this is coming to the forefront now. So, as we move forward here, we see the sun come into the sign of Pisces. And so now the sun is shifting over into your 11th house. Great placement where this becomes a time for you to shine as far as your growth, right? Again, a lot of you are going through very deep transformation. A lot of you are starting to push ahead, a lot of changes that are coming in. And so this becomes a really great time for you to receive a lot of growth in your life as you're starting to focus on your hopes, your dreams, your wishes, a lot that is moving ahead here and shifting forward for you. Now, moving ahead, we have the moon that is joining in with this Mars Rahu party going on in your first house. And so this becomes a really great time, once again, to trust in your intuition. The moon is a very emotional planet, remember, and it's coming here into your first house of your identity. So this becomes a really great time to be more in tune with yourself, to trust in your inner knowing, your intuition, to follow the feelings that come up. And so, again, there's a lot here in terms of your intuition, in terms of your inner knowing that is guiding you, leading you. It's sitting here in your first house, which is the path, it's your focus, your body, how you're approaching life. So, there's a lot here that is shifting and moving for you intuitively, emotionally, where you can feel where the tides are pulling you. Now, moving forward on the 28th, we have a full moon in Virgo. So, once again, this is a full moon happening in your fifth house, where, again, this is a great time to see some big results come through. Those creative areas of your life where you've been following your intuition, where you've been putting in the efforts towards the things that you want to create and build, can really come to fullness and completion coming here, where you can see some major results come through. This full moon is aspecting over to your 11th house of gains. Now, last transit here is happening on the 31st of March when Mercury shifts into Pisces. And so now Mercury is also shifting into your 11th house, where this becomes a great time to network, to connect with others. Mercury coming into your 11th house really gives that versatility to experience new things, where you are starting to focus on new projects, new ideas. And so this is really opening you up mentally to the possibilities. Again, this is a great time overall to follow your intuition, to follow the growth patterns and cycles as everything is shifting you forward during this time. So let's go ahead and talk about the cards that came up for you. So, first card here is the first house. Again, a lot of activity that's going on there as far as your identity, your personality, with that first house being activated by Rahu, Rahu is taking you in this direction that is connected to yourself. Remember that Rahu is the head of the serpent, where that is the direction that you're going in. That's the desire. And so there's a lot here in terms of your growth in who you are and how that is pushing you forward towards your goals, towards being more assertive, towards being more of who you are as you are moving ahead in your life here. Next card is the Attarabhadra Nakshatra. And so this is that nakshatra that is all about the inner wisdom, right? This is a Pisces nakshatra, where this really becomes about, again, going within, trusting in the intuition, trusting in the inner knowing, and how that is moving you, how that is guiding you through all the different cycles. Again, there's a lot intuitively that's going on here where you can feel where this is all taking you. With Rahu sitting there in that first house and Mars, that initiative, and the moon, which is coming into the first house, there's a lot where you can instinctively feel where you're going. And this becomes about trusting in that and following that. And especially with your next card here being the moon. So there's a lot emotionally, again, that is pushing you towards change, towards growth, towards following your intuition and your inner knowing. The last card here for you is the Ashwini Nakshatra. And so there's a lot of willpower, a lot of stamina, a lot of drive right now for you to push ahead, right? That Ashwini Nakshatra is symbolized by the horse, where there is this direct motion, this energy, this stamina, this life that is coming into your awareness. And so you're feeling this energy, revving it up. Mars, of course, here in your own sign, and with Rahu there as well, this strong push, this strong drive to move towards the things that you want to achieve. So that was your March 2021 horoscope for Taurus, moon, or ascendant. Let's go ahead and move forward to those of you with a Virgo, moon, or ascendant. So, hi Virgo, this is your March 2021 horoscope, but this is for those of you with a Virgo moon or Virgo ascendant. So, we start off this month of March here with the moon in your first house. A lot that's happening intuitively for you, where you can feel where you're going now. A lot that is about being in tune with your feelings, being in tune with your inner knowing, trusting your intellect and your intuition, and where that is guiding you during this time. Now, as we move to the 5th of March, the moon is going to come closer to K2. So this is happening in your third house of Scorpio. A lot of great intuitive abilities and intelligence that you can tap into here. This third house, of course, is about intuition. It is about your courage to get things done, your communication skills, your intellect. So this becomes a really great place where you have all of these great ideas, especially with K2 sitting here in your third house, revealing all of these hidden parts of the mind, right? This Jeshta part is that deeper part of Scorpio, where this becomes about really going deep within the mind. Great placement, as this is pulling a lot of knowledge and insight into your awareness, where you're able to work towards your goals and your responsibilities with courage. This third house is giving you the courage to go out, to communicate, to get your point across, to get these things done in your life. So moving forward on the 9th of March, we have a new moon in Aquarius. This is happening in that Shadabasha Nakshatra, which is all about our karmic duty and purpose, right? That thousand petal lotus of really rising above the lower impulses and sticking to your cosmic path in life. So, this is a new moon that is happening in your sixth house. So, this becomes about really focusing in on your health, really focusing in on your responsibilities, maintaining that discipline. And so, for those of you who have not been disciplined at this time, those of you who have been falling off, especially with the combust sun hanging out there in your sixth house, this really becomes a great time for you to start a new workout, to start a new diet, to become more disciplined during this new moon. This is really giving you room to start a new central focus as far as your projects, as far as your discipline and your routine. So, following this, the moon is going to come into a conjunction with Jupiter and Saturn. So, this is happening here back in your fifth house. Pluto is here as well, where this becomes a lot of interesting ability to change and work on things in a very different way. And so there's a lot of different energy happening in the fifth house where you might be more spontaneous, you might be open to different things here. This is really changing your idea of fun and intellect and what your projects and ideas look like. And so this is really changing the whole world of your creativity. So this becomes a very powerful transit here, and this whole transit really of Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto hanging out here in your fifth house. There's a lot changing in terms of your intellect and your creative abilities. The moon coming into here, really heightening this and bringing it into the awareness. So let's go ahead and move forward here. And following that, Mars is going to come closer to Rahu. And so there's a lot here in terms of this energy now to learn, to grow, to really reach new heights as this is happening over here in your ninth house. And so this is opening up so many different possibilities and so much opportunity to reach new heights in terms of your education, your spirituality. This is opening up new possibilities for many of you. Now, moving forward here, the sun is going to shift into Pisces on the 14th. And so the sun is coming into your seventh house, where many of you may be focused on your business, focus on your partnerships. Again, there's a huge focus here around your responsibility, your devotion, the things that you want to get done, the projects that need to be worked on. And so, as this is the sun coming into your seventh house, this really becomes a great time for leadership, for dedication, to really focus and hone in on getting those things done in your life. Now, moving forward here on the 19th, the moon is going to come closer to this Mars Rahu party that is going on here in your ninth house. Again, a lot of huge focus on education, on reaching new heights, on really building yourself up. Moving forward on the 28th, there's going to be a full moon happening in your first house. And so you are in an ending stage where things are coming to a completion. You are ready to start a new chapter of your life, to work on something new. There's a closure that is ultimately happening here. And so, for those of you who have been working on something diligently, who have come to the results, there's something big here where this is closing an old chapter for you. And especially with this being in your first house, there's something big where you are changing within yourself here with this ending, this completion of this full moon. Now, our last transit here is going to happen on the 31st of March when Mercury shifts into Pisces. And so this is Mercury going into your seventh house along with the sun. Great position. This gives you an ability to really focus again on your business, on your career, on your partnerships. Now, you want to be careful though, because Mercury is debilitated here in Pisces, and we also have a combust Venus going on. And so, you want to be careful if you are dealing with relationships. There can be some challenges that come up here where there can be some tiredness or some laziness around this potential area, which can lead to ultimate frustrations in your relationships. So let's go ahead and take a look at the cards for those of you here with a Virgo moon or Virgo ascendant. The first card here is the Jyeshta Nakshatra. Again, that deeper part of Scorpio within the Pisces Navamsa. And so this again is showing this ability to tap into knowledge, to tap into intuition and understanding at a deeper level. You are more in tune with the deeper part of your mind during this month of March here, where a lot of new ideas, a lot of new understanding can really come into the forefront. And so this becomes a great time again to work on a new project, to commit to something new, to really look at things from different angles during this time period. Now, the next card here is the Revati Nakshatra. So, that last nakshatra that falls within Pisces, all about spirituality, about transcending this physical reality and tapping into something higher, something grander, right? This grand purpose and this spiritual liberation of Pisces. And so, with this card here, there is something big to say again, where many of you are reaching new heights, where you could be learning something new or figuring out something new in terms of your spirituality. Some of you could be exploring your spirituality. Again, with Rahu there in your ninth house, you can be exploring your religion or your spirituality at this time. This can also be a time where you are just more tuned in with your intuition, a lot of moon activity there in your first house. So, next card here is Aquarius. Again, this is a time where you are experimenting and looking at things in a different way. With that Jupiter Saturn combo and Pluto in there in your fifth house, there's a lot that is changing that's different, and Neptune even in your sixth house, where you're exploring different ways of working and looking at projects and using your intellectual skills. So really this out of the box way of looking at things is coming in strongly here. Now next card is the Nishta Nakshatra, which is all about marching to the beat of your own drum, right? Staying disciplined, staying focused to your path, your calling in life. So again, there's a huge focus here in terms of your responsibility, your commitment, where you may be starting a new habit, a new routine in your life with that new moon there activating your sixth house. So, this was your horoscope for those of you with a Virgo ascendant or Virgo moon. Let's go ahead and shift forward here to those of you with a Capricorn moon or Capricorn ascendant. So, this is your March 2021 horoscope for those of you with a Capricorn ascendant or Capricorn moon. Now, we're starting off this transit with the moon activating your ninth house. And so this is a time to really be tapping into your knowledge, your creativity. Many of you seeing from a higher perspective, many of you looking towards spiritual answers, towards philosophical answers, this higher minded approach with this moon here sitting in your ninth house. And so this can be a really great time to explore new possibilities, to really look at things from a different angle, to start a new class, to work on a new project. Now, on the 5th of March, we see the moon coming into a closer conjunction here with K2. And this is going to be in your 11th house of Scorpio. And so during this time, this is a really great time for you to actually go more inward. K2 being in your 11th house of gains is quite the interesting position. K2 really doesn't care much for material gains, it is about the spiritual transcendence. And so there's a lot here in terms of focusing on gains, but you may not get those gains through actually seeking something external. There's something big here about going within and tapping more into your intuition and your internal knowing, going inward during this time and not focusing as much on what is going on externally. For a lot of you, your intuition is guiding you towards the things that you need in order to acquire the wealth and the gains in your life. And so this is quite an interesting transit that is happening. Now, moving forward on the 9th of March, the moon is going to come into a conjunction with Jupiter and Saturn, along with Pluto, which is hanging out there in your first house. So, for many of you here with Capricorn moon or ascendant, you're going through this major change and growth with all of this Capricorn activity that is going on there in your first house. And so, this is a really great time for you to continue to grow, to expand, to change different things within your life. This is ultimately your whole world. This is you, your first house, that is changing and growing and it's really being broken down and put back together. And so for many of you, your whole identity is falling apart. There's a lot of things that are dissolving so that you can grow spiritually and become more whole as you are moving ahead. Now, on the 13th of March, there will be a new moon in Aquarius. So this is happening in that nakshatra of Shadabasha. And this is happening in your second house. So this can be a time to acquire new wealth, to acquire new security in your life. This can be a time where you're building up new connections with your family and those closest to you. This is really a great time, though, to build your wealth and security. A lot of new opportunities that can come up here in terms of that wealth and security, and new opportunities for you to really manage your wealth and security. So, for many of you, this is a time where you might need to look at new possibilities, new ways of being more secure in the way that you're managing things here. Now, also around this time, Mars is going to come into a closer conjunction with Rahu. And so, this is happening there in your fifth house, where again, you're open to a lot of new possibilities, a lot of things that are changing and growing. Again, Rahu in the fifth house really is taking you more into a place of your creativity, your expression, trusting in your intellect, trusting in what you know to be that source of gains. So this is not so much about seeking something external with K2 there in the 11th. This is really pulling you closer to your intelligence and your creativity. Now, moving forward here on the 14th, the sun is going to shift into Pisces. And so, this is where the sun will move into your third house of communication. And so, here's the sun is shifting into the third house. This becomes a time where you gain more courage, where you're more open, more able to connect different ideas and connect with others during this time. And so this becomes a great time to share your thoughts, to gather thoughts from others, to really focus in on your knowledge and your creativity again with that connection between the third and the fifth. Now, moving forward on the 19th, the moon is going to come and join the party of Mars and Rahu over in your fifth house. And so, again, this becomes a great time for you to explore and expand upon your creativity and your ultimate skills within yourself. The moon being a very creative planet coming in here to this fifth house of creativity, this becomes a great opportunity to explore new possibilities, to tap more into your intuition, your intellect, and to use these skills to create something new. So there's a lot here that is centered around rebirth, that is centered around really looking at things from a different perspective and finding new ways of going after things from more of an intuitive angle. So moving forward here on the 28th, we have a full moon in Virgo. And this is happening in that Hasta Nakshatra, which is connected to service. It's connected to technical skills, to money, to your creativity. And so this becomes a very practical full moon here, really great for you. And this is happening in your ninth house of education. Again, this becomes a great time for you to tap into your spirituality, to tap into your karmic duty, to tap into newfound information, and to really use this to go towards your goals. With the sun there in your third house, there's a huge activation here in terms of your intellect and your creativity and your courage to learn and explore new possibilities. On the 31st, we have our last transit here of Mercury and Pisces. And so this is Mercury also shifting over to the third house. Great position as this becomes more about communication, about sharing your ideas and your intellect. You want to be careful though, because Mercury is debilitated in Pisces. Now, this is natural for those of you with a Capricorn ascendant, where there's less of an urge to communicate and connect. This becomes more of a disciplined and hardworking position for those of you. And so this becomes a great time to share your philosophical ideas that many of you have, where you may not be inclined for small talk, but this is still a great time to be more creative, more courageous, more bold with sharing those philosophical thoughts and views with the world at this time, and to really have an open mind about other thoughts that you can bring in as well from others around you. So this becomes a great time again for gathering different ideas, thinking out of the box, being more creative, being able to pour these different thoughts and creative ideas into what you want to build and create. And so that theme of intuition, that theme of trusting in yourself and being more open becomes huge here for those of you with a Capricorn moon or Capricorn ascendant. Now, the first card here is the fourth house. And so, again, this becomes a great time of trusting in your intuition, trusting in your inner knowing. A lot of deeper information that can come in here, especially with Uranus sitting there in your fourth house. There can be a lot of deeper insights and wisdom that comes in unexpectedly for many of you. And this is really making a huge impact on your spiritual growth, on your ability to find that inner peace and to look at things from a different perspective. And that goes into our next card here, which is the Panavasu Nakshatra, where there's a lot of spiritual aspiration and inner knowing that you can gather from going within, from retreating, from going in the home and really tapping into your thoughts, your ideas, your inspiration in that quiet place. Again, K2 and the 11 really bringing you back into yourself. For this is not so much about going out in these large social groups, but there's something big here about going back to your inner child, to your creativity, to your ideas during this time. Next card here is Pluto or Lord Shiva. And again, this is a time where many of you are dissolving boundaries, you're destroying old parts of yourself, you are building yourself back up. And so, this idea of transformation that is tied and connected to Pluto, and especially with Pluto in your first house of self, there's a lot that you are reconstructing within your own identity and your own life, where you are really rebuilding your image of who you are overall. Last card here is the Maga Nakshatra. And so, again, this becomes a great time to acquire wealth, but again, in a very different way. This wealth becomes about you tapping into your courage, tapping into your ability to go for the things that you want, for being open to learning more. Remember, this nakshatra of Maga is within Leo, where this is about your inner power, your strength, your royalty. And so this really becomes about being more bold, more courageous about your ideas, about going after the things that you want. So that was your horoscope for Capricorn ascendant or Capricorn moon. And this was your March 2021 horoscope for all earth signs and the last of these March 2021 horoscopes. So if you missed out on your March 2021 horoscope and you are an air sign, a fire sign, or a water sign, make sure to check out those previous horoscopes. If you enjoy this, feel free to leave a like as well as a comment. If you are new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell. If you are interested in learning Vedic astrology more in depth, I do have a class available on Facebook within the Facebook group, Astrology Lessons with Daquan Jones, and on the Patreon. And I will keep you all updated when that becomes available on Udemy as well. That information will be down below in the description along with the comments. I hope you all enjoyed this, and I want to wish you all a great day. I will see you in the next video.